how to become a good speaker, how to become a thorough communicator, how to speak with trust, how to speak with integrity, how to speak to somebody like you care for them, how to speak with care, how to speak with love. I'm going to explain to y'all how I became a good speaker. I'm going to explain to y'all how I became a thorough communicator. And as I explain this, as you watch my recent videos, you're going to see how I'm speaking all the way through. You're going to see how there's no cuts, not many cuts. Lately, I just been making my videos all the way through. And I do that because when I communicate and when I speak, I don't want to speak in perfection because I'm not perfect. I don't want to speak in perfection. So a lot of times when I make my videos, people get to see me think. People get to see me pause. People get to see me analyze, because I think that's what makes a thorough communicator and a good speaker. And I do this because this is real life. Like, me speaking all the way through, and you get to see me think. You get to see me analyze. You get to see my thought process. And you also have to practice communicating. You also have to practice speaking. And that's what I do also in the midst of my YouTube, for me to become a better speaker. Because what if God calls me and says, hey, Blossom, I need you to speak in front of like 500,000 people. And then I done kept cutting the video and kept cutting it short and kept starting all over. You can't do that in real life. Like, you can't, like, hey, half a million people, I'll be right back, cut, come back. Like, you can't do that. So the ways that I have become a better speaker is to not have the idea of perfection in my head. Like, when I speak, when I communicate, I have these moments where I stop and think. I have a moment and things like that, because that's real life. Sometimes I have to take a pause. But the main thing that helped me become a better communicator is, firstly, me understanding that a lot of communication isn't necessarily verbal. A lot of communication, especially in person, is nonverbal. The other thing is me speaking to myself. I talk to myself often, very often. I ask myself how I'm feeling today. Tell me more. Expand on that. Why do you feel this way? Expand on that. A lot of times I'll say expand on that, because when you're speaking, a lot of people just speak and it's surface level. But when you get into more in-depth conversations, you want to ask yourself, okay, well, why? And the more you ask why, you'll notice the deeper the conversation gets. You'll notice how in-depth conversations can get when you ask the whys, when you try to figure things out. So a lot of times I'm asking myself, well, why do you think that? Why are your thoughts this way? In a sense, even though I'm talking to the camera, I'm still talking to myself. I'm still here analyzing and talking to myself, because I don't have an audience. So that's a big way I communicate. Even when the camera's off, I'm driving, like I have like a nice drive home, like hours upon hours of a drive home. So when I'm driving home, I'm saying, okay, Bree, Bree is my real name. I go by Blossom, but Bree's my real name. I'm like, okay, Bree, you're sitting in this car driving. What are you analyzing? Like right now, I see a tree. What do you see on that tree? Oh, I see just branches, no leaves, because it's winter time. So I just see branches. Okay, how do you analyze those branches? Okay, and then it just becomes a conversation between myself. So a lot of times I'm talking and I'm speaking and analyzing things between myself. Like, okay, I'm driving, I'm in the car right now, I see clouds. What does that cloud look like? Okay, and then if I wanted to bring it to a point, if I wanted to make this cloud into a topic, I would say the topic would be, I see this cloud. It kind of looks like a horse running a race. But that's just my perspective. And if somebody was in the car with me, I'd be like, hey, you see that cloud right there? What do you think that cloud is? What's your perspective? Now we have a dialogue communication about a cloud. It's so many ways that you can have communication. It's so many ways how you can become a good speaker. And communicating and dialogue is different from being a good speaker and being a speaker. Being a speaker, you have to speak with trust. You have to speak with integrity. But in order to speak with trust, in order to speak with integrity, you have to what? You have to trust yourself. You have to have integrity within yourself. Because if I'm speaking to you and I don't trust myself, and if I'm speaking to you and I trust myself because I do the work, and I trust myself because I also trust God. I just want to explain why I trust myself. But if I'm speaking to you and I don't trust myself, eventually, the more I speak, you'll be able to pick up like, oh, this person doesn't trust herself. Or, oh, this person doesn't have any self-worth or self-esteem. So a lot of times when I'm speaking, when I'm in the car like I am now, or analyzing things in the world, I'm speaking to myself, but I'm speaking to myself in trust. I'm speaking to myself with integrity and with a pure heart. So back to the whole speaking thing. To become a good speaker, you have to learn to trust yourself and trust what you say. And also speak, when you're speaking, speak in facts. Unless you're asked of an opinion, know your facts, speak in facts, unless you're trying to figure out the fact and when you're analyzing things in your mind. I pray this is making sense because it makes sense in my head. This is how I'm analyzing things right now. Like I said, I make my videos all the way through. Like my most recent videos, there's not many cuts because I'm analyzing all the way through. You get to see my thought process. And this is how I become not only a better communicator, but also a better speaker. Because I'm learning that even though I'm analyzing my thoughts, even though I'm analyzing in my mind and analyzing the world, I'm trusting my thoughts. I'm trusting what I'm analyzing. I'm trusting myself to go through this analyzing process and not feel embarrassed about it. Many of us, when we go to speak or communicate, we'll feel embarrassed or try to be so politically correct. And I'm in an era now where I'm not trying to be politically correct. Like, I can barely even say that. I'm not trying to be politically correct. I can barely say the word. I'm just doing my best to live in my truth and trust myself to live in my truth and trust myself to communicate and speak. And that's what I'm doing. Like I said, you have to practice. You have to practice communication. You have to practice speaking. And that's what I'm doing. And that's how I blossom and learn how to become a better communicator and a thorough speaker. So, yeah. I hope that made sense. Like I said, to become a better speaker, you have to trust yourself. Have some self-worth. And allow yourself to analyze and go through the motions in your thought process. Like, you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be politically correct. Just be correct enough to speak in facts, unless somebody's asking you an opinion, or unless you're trying to understand or figure out the facts. As far as communication, speak to yourself. Speak to yourself. Record yourself speaking and talking to yourself or talking to others. Like I said, I don't have an audience, but I have an audience because whoever watches this is my audience. So communicate like that. Like, I communicate and like I'm just talking. Like, I'm not out here trying to be politically correct. I'm just here to speak the facts of my truth and communicate that way. Like, I'm not here trying to use the extra big words. That's what I mean by politically correct. Like, I'm not here trying to do any of that. I'm here to communicate in ways where people can understand me as much as possible. So that's what I want to say to y'all. I hope y'all enjoyed the video. I hope this helped you in a way to become a better speaker as well. Like I said, you have to practice. So even if this video isn't as captivating, it's my practice. And y'all are just along here with my practice and me communicating. So, yeah, that's all I want to say to y'all. My phone is ringing. So, yeah. Thank y'all for watching and blossom outie.